Today, we're not just talking about numbers and financial gains, but we're actually talking about the heartbeat of your investments. I wanted to just tell you how excited I am to connect with you and have a conversation about women in venture capital. It's kind of interesting. I was looking at some of the data. In 2010, there were only 12 women-run venture firms in the United States. And by 2020, just 10 years later, there are over 300. We're actually having a huge new opportunity for us to set the stage for who's leading the companies of tomorrow and what kind of innovations and solutions are we all looking for. And we have an opportunity to be active in driving this for the future. So let me back up and make sure I introduce myself. I'm Julie Castro Abrams. I'm the CEO and the founder of an organization, a nonprofit called How Women Lead. We basically are saying, hey, women leaders, top corporate and other executive women leaders, we're the first generation of us with this kind of we've been working for 30 years. We've never seen a generation of us before with power and influence and ability to really impact everything for tomorrow. And many of us didn't feel like we were invited to have a seat at the table. And that's what we need to change. And that's what we're doing today. Today, with my friend Ariane Tom, we are here to invite you to join us at the new table where women are in charge. We are investing. We are seeding the companies of tomorrow. And that's what we're talking about. And we know the way you think. We're investing aligned with our values. We're creating a framework for you to really think about what kind of future you want to see. Ariane Tom is the founder and managing director at Kaleida Capital. And we're so lucky that you're here with us today. Yours is a venture fund investing in technology advancements addressing neurological and psychiatric diseases, aiming to fill the funding gap and minimize risk in early stage investments for underserved patient population. I just want you to take a deep breath and think, who in my family? I know that you have people in your family for whom this is a prescient issue. This affects all of us in our lives. Ariane, I'm so glad that you have the vision to be able to drive a different kind of investing. So we're going to have a fun conversation. And before we get started, every time we get together, we start by agreeing to a commitment of how we are with each other. The culture's not great for us. So we ask everyone who's part of the How Women Lead community to make a commitment to be fierce advocates for each other. Imagine if every woman you met was fiercely advocating for you. It's beautiful to say yes to helping and connecting each other, to reinforce her voice when she speaks up and isn't heard, be her megaphone. So today, tell 10 people about this conversation with me and with Ariane. And then most importantly, and Ariane, thank you for being unabashedly visible. We ask you to take up space to really let us put your thought leadership and visibility out there. So with that, Ariane, let's talk a little bit about the landscape. I'd love to hear sort of what are the data points that get you up in the morning when you think about investing and women and the role that you're playing in the market.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. Happy to be here. One thing that really inspired me to want even more to be able to invest in innovations in neuroscience is really just the critical unmet need to be able to understand how our brain works and how that influences everything from behavior and experiences to very challenging medical issues that are really starting to afflict very large numbers in our population, not just in the US, but also globally. And really, some of the key aspects of doing that is to really understand what types of trends are happening at the forefront of technology and also in biology, as they specifically refer to neuroscience, neurodevelopment, as well as
I feel like we don't know anything, Ariane. I feel like, just invested in a company called Morrow. And part of what their story to us was that it takes 11 years for children to be diagnosed with mental health disease. seen in those developmental years for everybody in the whole system, the family members, the teachers, and the children, when everybody, treats it like it's a behavior problem as opposed to something that's chemical and structural.
Absolutely. One thing that I'm very, very interested in is looking at new types of diagnostics and biomarkers that are going to help us be able to reach proper treatments across all age groups and a range of different indications. And that's really spurred by what I've seen happening firsthand in laboratory research. 10 years I started my PhD work at Stanford and only ultimately produced a series of projects at the forefront of neurotechnology, and being able to quantify that biology at really unprecedented levels of resolution is something that a lot of people are starting to understand and really appreciate in the broader communities. And, now as we're entering 2024, I can really clearly see how that technology has evolved so rapidly and is poised for immense growth. So,
Well, and I think about COVID, it just like put everything into hyper relief. Any challenges you were having seemed to just be magnified. And we weren't
especially
prepared
mental health.
to
Yeah.
support the mental health of people. Well, that's literally what I'm talking about. Like the mental health crisis that so many people have had. What are you seeing as the most hopeful solutions that you're excited about?
Yeah. So I look at things all across the board. We're a seed stage fund. And here are just a few of some of the areas that I think are important. We touched on mental health, and I think that there's so much underlying the origins of a lot of neurological and psychiatric disease. And so one area that I look at is this new field called precision psychiatry,
Mm.
and being able to map brain activity and being able to actually generate some connections with how that brain activity can actually be surface in behavioral changes. That is something that's only really starting to become, even with the medical field, like destigmatized. And where now I'm very, very, at a high level, dedicated to generating impact in the space by helping people better understand themselves, but also allow physicians and caretakers to be able to better understand the patients that they serve. Another area is in paralysis and movement disorders. I'm looking at a few companies now that are in the field of helping to restore movement for patients who've either suffered from stroke or from patients who have unfortunately, lost the ability for upper or lower limb motion. And I think that being able to use enabling technologies to help restore that so they can really participate in life, with their families, with their children, I think can be dramatically life changing. And then lastly, I'm looking at interesting ways to measure, diagnose, and monitor patients with age-related disease, whether it be, early stage or, in the later stages, and being able to monitor cognitive decline and be able to better serve those patients is also something top of mind for me.
Yeah. So this conversation today is largely about women and getting women to start investing and investing aligned with their values. Why should women be, and why are you they have a unique vision when you think about mental health or, neuro issues that have to do with neurobiology? What is the role women have to play? I mean, I think of us as the caretakers. I think of a lot of this is stuff that's never been addressed because it's been women's work or for women to deal with, whether it's
Right.
kids, family responsibilities. Why are you uniquely interesting in this mix? What do you see that other people might not?
Yeah, first I'll speak to the first thing you mentioned, right? I think we're a VC firm. We're included on the New Table's value-based investing tool. And I think it's an incredible time to start participating in the asset class of venture capital. I think there's a new class of investors on the rise, and a lot of the younger generation and others are really prioritizing investments that are aligned with their mission and their values. And to be able to choose and select how we envision and want our future to be like,
Yeah.
and what experiences we would like the future generation and our children to be able to have. A lot of that means that we must participate in the innovation life cycle, in whichever field it may be, whether it be women's health, climate tech, education, or in my case, neuroscience. I think that all of these things are really valuable new things that we have the opportunity to help choose and empower. And, I became a VC because I knew that I could bring this unique perspective to leverage my deep technical training as a bioengineer, a leading woman in a STEM field, but also combine that with, the perspectives of an early stage investor. And I knew that this combination of having this deep expertise, but also this holistic view of investing, with the mind as well as with the heart, to bring new companies into society that would solve some of the world's most difficult challenges. And I think that in particular, the timing for investing in neuroscience innovation is right now. We're seeing some really incredible headlines, but also it's an opportunity to generate a financial ROI, and that is really one of the most important things. And being able to push forward a platform that can really, tackle these challenging, scientific topics as a woman, I think brings me a lot of pride and means a lot to me.
Well, I love hanging out with you because I love nerding out about this kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
also, I truly, truly believe that whoever's in charge finds solutions to the things affecting them for better, for worse.
Mhm.
And by having you leading a venture firm, well, clearly with your background, but as a woman, you are seeing things from a unique lens, and that all the women who I know care about, because we are the ones who are
Mhm.
supporting. I have a grandmother who is gone now, but had dementia, Alzheimer's. And I think for all of us, we've been touched by these diseases, and that we've been so slow moving and coming up with solutions until leaders like you, Ariane, sort of decided to put force behind it. And so at How Women Lead, we have a network of 22,000 women. We started a venture fund, a firm in 2020, and then a second fund. We've got 475 investors. We can't have 22,000. There's some weird rules out there that make it so you can't have more investors. And so because of that, we thought, it's such a power play. Everyone who's invested in our fund, they put it on LinkedIn. It really becomes an important part of their identity. And the network that comes out of it is extraordinary and helps in all parts of your life. So we thought, you know what? Let's do a campaign. Let's get 50 of the women-run venture firms that we know and respect, like Ariane's venture firm. Let's put them on a platform where you can actually find them based on your values. If you care about mental health, if you care about neurobiology world, you can actually find venture funds that are specifically focused on that in this platform called the New Table. So today, what we want is for you to lean in and start to think about what role could venture capital play in your life as a leader, and also your financial plans. And we wanted to demystify it by having you meet Ariane and me. I run a venture firm, How Women Invest. But what we also want to do is make sure that we get rid of any of the mystery or the lingo. So I'm going to knock some of them out. Okay. So the first thing that happens when first and foremost, I want you to know you're invited to invest in venture. It's just like a mutual fund that you would invest in, but it's a longer term and it's in a startup instead of a public company. So that's how I think about investing in venture. A lot of people think, oh, do I have to know how to pick the companies? No, actually, Ariane and I know how to pick the companies. What you need to do is just pick which venture leader you think it aligns the most with your values and you think it's going to, meet your goals, what financial return, et cetera. So once you decide you want to start investing, the first question they're going to ask you to answer is, are you an accredited investor? It's a term that the Securities and Exchange Commission came up with to make sure that we know that the people who are investing in venture capital are people who have enough money, enough earnings or savings that you can actually put money in an investment that's held for a long time. Most venture firms have what we call a 10-year life. So when you make an investment, you have better returns than in the public markets on average, but you have to know that your money is going to be invested over a longer period of time. Okay. The definition of an accredited investor is you have to make $200,000 a year as an individual, or 300 with your life partner or whoever's in your household, or you have $1 million that you've set aside outside of your home. So usually your retirement is how you think about that. As long as you meet one of those criteria, you don't have to go get accredited by anyone. The first time I heard it, I thought I had to go get the federal government to that I have to fill out a bunch of forms and release my DNA and all that good stuff. No, you just literally attest that you meet that standard. And then you can invest in venture capital. The other thing is, a lot of us think you have to put $1 million in if you're going to invest in venture capital, but there's actually a lot of venture funds that will take smaller dollar amounts. Ariane, what's your minimum investment amount?
Typically, our LPs are investing between around 250K, but it's split up over 4 months.
Okay, so our venture fund, our minimum investment amount's $25,000 and it's spread over 4 years. So I just wanted you to kind of get a sense of the range of the kinds of investing and the dollar amounts required. So for us at How Women Invest, it's $6,250 a year for 4 years is the minimum. On average, people do a little more than twice that. But it's important for you to sort of understand it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money. And you don't have to go through a lot of hoops in order to start investing. You just have to put your intention out there, meet some of the good women VCs like Ariane, and start to play in the game. So, Ariane, once somebody invests with you, how often are you giving reports to people? Like, what does that relationship look like once they've invested in your Kaleida Capital?
Yeah, so we're building out really strong institutional grade platform. Through my experience working at other venture funds, learned a lot of best practices for communication with my limited partners and the people who are really supportive of the portfolio that I'll be developing. So that includes things like quarterly newsletters, portfolio announcements, and things like that, which are all typical when you invest in a venture fund. But furthermore, what I think is a really great opportunity when you do invest in funds is it really opens up doors for networking, learning, and growth. And so a lot of folks that are interested in investing with Kaleida are very fascinated and curious about the field of neurotechnology and where that trajectory is going. And by being in the room with us, right, if we have neurotech summits or salons that we would like to put together, once our fund is launched, have the opportunity to continue building your own network as well. So I think it's really a great opportunity to, leverage your capital in that way.
Yeah. Okay. So people get involved, they invest with you, they get reports, and then they are able to track the progress of this innovation. And they get to see real time what it looks like as a company evolves with those quarterly reports. You can kind of see like what they're tracking over time and how those companies are growing. Can you talk about what we call exits? When after you've invested in a company, you help them grow as a venture capitalist. What happens at the end of that story?
So in general, when you participate as a limited partner, a lot of, the return on investment comes at the time of an exit. And that typically can come in the form of an IPO or an acquisition of a company. And
so it sells to another company or they go public. Those are kind of two of the biggies, right?
And the typical structure of the way that the net proceeds or the net profits backed to the fund as a result of your invested capital, it gets split. So typically there's LPs will, depending on the terms of the fund that you are subscribing to, you will receive all the capital that you had originally invested, plus you'll split the net profits 20% to the GP, and then the rest is distributed amongst the LPs. And so that's kind of the ultimate, outcome of why people choose to invest in the asset class.
Okay, I'll just remind everyone about the words you just used. A limited partner, this is a limited partnership. You have a limited partnership agreement when you invest in venture capital. So you are people who invest in your fund are partners with you, Ariane. You're just the partner in charge. You're the general partner, and they are limited partners. And they own a portion of all the investments that you make, right? Pro rata. So equal to however much of that $20 million or $25 million that they invested. So how many investments are you investing in general?
At Kaleida Capital, with the $25 million fund, we are hoping to make between 20 to 25 investments over the next up to 5-year
So
period.
it's a diversified, it's not just one company. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? It's like a mutual fund. It's diversified into
Mhm.
20 to 25 investments. And then you said that when you help a company grow over time, and you're an expert, you have a PhD from Stanford in this. So you help them grow and help them, knock down any barriers, and then they sell the company. And when you have the proceeds from that, 80% of all of those, but this is very standard venture, everybody. Nothing
Mhm.
about this is a unique. I'm here to tell you 80% of all the money, then after people get their original capital back, let's say you invested $100,000, you get the $100,000 back, and then you get your portion of that 80% of all the net profits. And so in my venture firm, we've modeled out, it all, the proof is in the pudding when it's all said and done, but we've modeled out what we really believe are going to be good results, at least 3 to 5 times the money you invest is kind of what our modeling shows. So you should have good multiples and good returns by the end of the fund, the life of that fund when all those companies sell. So I'm just trying to demystify venture for everybody who is listening today, because what we want you to do is to feel enough confidence that you can say, you know what? I'm going to look into investing in venture. And I want to encourage you, you can join what we are calling the new table. And it's basically a platform that gives you a way to, we have classes, we send you articles, we hold your hand and make it easy. But then you also get to meet 50 women run venture firms like Ariane. And you can find the ones that are right for you. You can meet them at our different programming. So there's a lot of different ways you can think about it. It's industry specific, it's identity. There's lots of different ways people are thinking about how they're making investments. To me, it's like a smorgasbord. It's a plethora of opportunities for you to think about how you want to invest. So I also want you to think about, who do you want to see step into their power? What women in your life are you really wanting to champion so that they can really be game changers for tomorrow? I want you to think about having a conversation with them about venture capital and about investing. The biggest problem I see is not that women don't have the money and power and influence, because we do right now. For the first time, we have 50% of the wealth. It's that we don't feel invited. It feels mysterious. It feels like something where no one has ever given us a seat at the table. That's what we're solving for today. We want to invite you to be part of the new table of investing in venture. And you can invest directly in a venture firm by sending a note to Ariane Tom right now and say, I want to look into Kaleida Capital. Or you can join the new table and you could see Ariane and others on that platform. What we want is for you to take action and just get started. I want to thank everyone who joined us today, and I want to encourage you to tell your friends. Ariane, what is sort of a last word you want to share with people about what they should know about investing in
Mhm.
venture, Kaleida Capital, or solutions that you're most excited about?
Yeah, well, I appreciate everyone for being here, and I'm here to help educate as well. And if you have any questions about neuroscience, neurotechnology, and investment strategy, I'm happy to talk more details.
Oh my God, this is like heaven, Ariane, nerding out with you on all of this. It just makes me so happy. And it's such critical solutions that you're involved in. We have
Yeah,
got to destigmatize our approach to thinking about mental health and just literally how our neurobiology impacts our daily lives.
absolutely.
We love and care about. All right, with that, everyone, it's good for your mental health to take action. I promise you. So take action today. Sign up for the new table, which just means you're going to start to look into investing in venture. We want you to have a seat at the table with us. Thank you very much for all of the things that you're doing to advocate for other women and women's power, wealth, and influence. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.